Let's bring in Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger now. She's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, appreciate you sharing part of your weekend with us. Let's talk about Ukraine. The administration has vowed crippling sanctions on Russia if it invades that country. Sanctions didn't work in Crimea. The threat of sanctions don't appear to deter Vladimir Putin. So if you're looking at all the options, how far should the United States go to protect Ukrainian sovereignty?
Well, I think first and foremost, the phrase that they're using, crippling sanctions against Putin, all of his cronies and counterparts, certainly I think there are more aggressive steps as it relates to sanctions that the United States could be taking than what we've taken in the past. But notably, the information that is out in the public is leading to this discussion is the excellent work of the men and women of intelligence agencies throughout the world. And so certainly at this point in time, you know, the men and women of the U.S. intelligence agencies are digging into the information that is available to us, analyzing, providing that information, of course, back to the White House and back to lawmakers and military and diplomatic leaders. And that's going to be incredibly pivotal for us to fully understand the scope of where we are and what the threats are before making any kind of forward movements on final decisions.
Congresswoman, I do want to pivot to a domestic issue that I know you are passionate about. You're one of a growing number of lawmakers backing bills that would bar current members of Congress and their families from trading stocks. You've actually introduced the Trust in Congress Act along with Republican Congressman Chip Roy. This is a bipartisan proposal that has a lot of support from both sides of the aisle. Why is this issue a priority for you?
This issue is a priority for me because it's a priority for the people I represent. It's a priority for the American people. We need to ensure, we, Congress, need to take active steps to ensure that every American knows that we are spending every day working on their behalf, not on behalf of our own financial stock holdings. And in the early days of the pandemic, when we saw reports of members of Congress who were buying or selling certain stocks that were, to most people's view, pretty related to the early stages of that pandemic, that was just another example in kind of the American people's eyes of look at those lawmakers. We're in this pandemic and they're buying and selling stocks. In my own district, we sent out a survey asking my constituents, what do you think? Should lawmakers be able to buy and sell individual stocks? And we had more than 3,000 responses in fewer than 24 hours, and 93% of people said absolutely not. This is an active step that we can take to ensure that people know that we are working to further gain their trust and not just avoid impropriety and the actions of illegal stock trades or informed stock trades, but in fact also even the mere perception of that impropriety. And so limiting ourselves in this way, not allowing members of Congress, their spouses or dependent children to buy or sell individual stocks is a step that we can take. That's why we see so many members of Congress across the political spectrum, across geographies, across lengths of service, getting behind this idea and supporting our bill. It's why we have a companion piece on the Senate side. We've worked with Senator Ossoff and Senator Kelly on the proposal that they've put forth, a companion to our bill. And we see a Republican Senator Hawley kind of mirror that effort with his own bill. So it is certainly a priority that is taking hold across Congress on both the House and the Senate side. And I look forward to continuing to build a coalition until we bring this bill for a vote.
And yet, Congresswoman, a key member of the House is not supportive of the idea. Speaker Nancy Pelosi has effectively said that, we live in a free market economy and lawmakers should be free to participate in that economy. What's your message to the Speaker?
My message to anyone who would sort of say, but we can do what we want, we're just like everybody else, we're not. We're members of Congress. We have access to information that others don't have access to. We vote on things that could potentially move the markets. And I think we should be held to a different standard. Members of the media, members of the intelligence community, members of, depending upon where your job is, stockbrokers, people in different professions have different requirements placed on them based on access to information or based on the idea of ensuring that there's no viewed potential conflict. Members of Congress, we have a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of access to information, and we should be held to the highest standard. Many members of Congress agree with me on that point, think it's entirely valid to put such limitations on ourselves and our immediate families, spouses, and dependent children. And I hope that over time, for those in Congress who have hesitation, they'll see the value in affirming our intent, the value in telling the American people we are only working for you, and I hope they'll join our efforts.
Why do you think Speaker Pelosi won't put it on the floor for a vote?
There's a couple steps to move forward. The bill needs to go through for a markup. Certainly, I've heard from some colleagues who would say, well, you know, I would put forth this amendment, or I would make this adjustment. And so there's still time where the bill needs to go for a markup and then get to the floor. But certainly the bigger the coalition of members who support this bill, both as co-sponsors and those who intend to vote for it, I think we are moving steadily towards a floor vote. These things don't happen in a day. Certainly, we introduced this legislation more than a year ago, Chip Roy and I, and so we've been steadily building support for it. I'm grateful for the kind of push from people across the country who've really, recognized this issue as being an important one of trust within the American population, and so we're moving forward. We don't have a date for a floor vote, but there's a couple steps before us, and we're slow but steady. We'll get there.